Last October, the A's and Royals played in a winner-take-all wild-card game. The game is now referred to as the best game ever. The two teams went back and forth for 12 innings. But in the end, the A's ended up on the losing side as a royal walk-off sent them to an unbelievable postseason run. Tonight, the A's return to the scene as they open up a 3-game set in Kansas City as two of the top teams in the American League face off. Game 1, A's, Royals, next. We're at Kauffman Stadium tonight, a sellout crowd, and just moments ago, a very nice moment as Billy Butler received his American League championship ring, had some fun with his ex-teammates, and the crowd, they still love Billy Butler. You got a huge
congratulations,
ovation.
Billy.
So again, a very
and
nice
thank you for all the memories.
We'll talk about that
as a Kansas City
in a little bit. We also got a pretty good ball game tonight. It's the first of a 3-game series. It's the Oakland A's and the Kansas City Royals coming up on Comcast Sportsnet California. Hi again, everybody. Welcome to Oakland A's baseball, along with Ray Fosse. I'm Glenn Kuiper. Well, this has a chance to be a terrific series. Two very good teams in Ray. Royals off to a great start. They're 7-2, and they're pitching very good, but the offense has been dynamite in the early going.
Well, they can do it all, as we saw last year. And it started the season 7-0. They lost the last two against the Minnesota Twins, but their offense, their average is up over 300. Their pitching is always very good. Remember, they have the outstanding bullpen. You really do not want to get to Holland, their closer, because he's as lights out as anybody. But the A's a good ball club. The Royals a good ball club. And I think there'll be a lot of memories going back to last year when the unfortunate thing happened to the A's. But the fortunate thing for the Royals, they were 8-0 before they played the Giants in the World Series.
So you saw those offensive numbers for the Royals. That's the challenge for Sonny Gray. But, boy, has Sonny been good in his first two starts.
And, you know, you really can discount his numbers against the Royals because he has been fantastic this season. Just one run in his first two starts. Opening night, he was outstanding, picking up the win. Remember, in his next start, he was a little bit under the weather, not feeling that great, similar to what a lot of the players have gone through in about the last 10 days for this club. So Sonny Gray, just look at the way he pitches, not at all these other things. He's a #1 starter. The A's are fortunate to have him at the beginning of the rotation.
And he will be opposed by the veteran right-hander Jeremy Guthrie. Guthrie making his second start here in 2015. After the break, we'll head back inside the A's pregame live studios for an update, and then back to Kauffman Stadium. Sellout crowd on hand for Game 1 of the series.
Jack's hottest sandwich is back. Head to Jack in the Box for Jack's Blazing Chicken Sandwich. By Toyota, #1 in MPG, durability, and resale value. Toyota, let's go places. And by DraftKings.com. Play daily fantasy baseball for free on DraftKings.com with the official daily fantasy partner of Major League Baseball. Enter promo code SLIDER for free entry.
It's time to play ball. Here's Glenn and Ray.
Well, that's the man of the hour, Billy Butler, back in Kansas City.
Thank you, Billy. That was a nice intro, wasn't
We
it?
appreciate that.
Yeah.
We're officially ready to go now. First of a 3-game series. Big crowd still filing into Kauffman Stadium. It is going to be a standing room only crowd tonight. And let's look at the game time weather presented by the Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk. Admission free. Visit online for park hours at beachboardwalk.com. Beautiful 75 degrees. Just a nice light breeze. Not too humid. But the forecast is the concern. Thunderstorms looming. Maybe not for this game, but it's supposed to start raining tonight, and Saturday and Sunday the weather forecast is not great, so we're going to keep our fingers crossed for that. Lineup tonight for the Oakland A's looks like this: Sam Fuld in center, Mark Canha in left, Ben Zobrist at second, Billy Butler will be the designated hitter. Then it's Ike Davis at first, Stephen Vogt to catch, Brett Laurie at third, Josh Reddick in right, Marcus Semien is your shortstop.
The veteran right-hander Jeremy Guthrie on the mound for the Royals. He found a home here, Cleveland, Baltimore, Colorado, and Kansas City, and he is exactly where he likes to be. He pitched against the A's a couple of times last year, and he won a game, lost a game, but he will change speeds. He'll use all kinds of different pitches, and especially a cutter, and he pitches backwards, as they say, where he'll throw off-speed pitches and fastball counts. So something the A's have to be familiar with, and I'm sure with Darren Bush, the hitting coach, they are ready for exactly the way he's going to pitch them.
So a hot hitter, Sam Fuld, steps in, and the first pitch of the game is down around the knees for a strike. So we're underway from Kauffman Stadium. 361 the average for Fuld. Terrific start. 4 doubles, 3 triples. He's walked 3 times, and he's done a nice job. Sam Fuld was 4 for 12 in that series in Houston. And Bob Melvin said it best. He said, hey, first 10 games of the year, Sam Fuld has been as good a leadoff hitter as anybody.
That's right.
In baseball, and he's right. We know what he'll do defensively. Guthrie kicks, and the 1-2 pitch is a little bit low.
Well, Sam Fuld, in addition to his leadoff greatness, he's playing a great center field. In this place, this yard here, you have to be good. You see the veteran umpire crew, Jim Joyce, the first base umpire. But Cap, as we have talked when we were here last August about the size of the outfield, the square footage, the largest in all of baseball here at Kauffman Stadium. And Mark Canha gets his first opportunity to roam the outfield here. And look how shallow the outfield is playing, because there's a lot of area in front, a lot of area behind.
Bounce to Hosmer. Steps back to get a good hop. 1 out. Very good defense in the Kansas City Royals. This is what it looks like. Gold Glover Gordon in left. Kane should be a Gold Glover. He's in center. And Paulo Orlando in right field. The rookie. Moustakas, Escobar, Infante, Hosmer, another Gold Glover. Perez is a Gold Glover. Guthrie is your pitcher. So they had a nice ceremony before the game where they gave out the 3 Gold Gloves from 2014. Perez, Hosmer, and Gordon. All well deserved, and quite frankly, it's still hard to believe that Lorenzo Cain didn't win a Gold Glove.
You know, there was an interesting point made, and I read an article where, of course, they're going to leave him in center field. He covers so much ground, but I guess under the new guidelines for Gold Glove recipients, supposedly you have to play 75% of the time in one position.
One spot.
And
that probably, if that is the case, and I believe that you're right, then that would have hurt him.
And when they would put Dyson in, they would put him in center, move Cain over to right field. But this year they said, no, we're going to leave Cain in center. And he has already made some fantastic plays that guys just can't believe the ground he's covering. And, of course, here in Kansas City, Kauffman Stadium, I mean, this is the largest outfield in all of baseball, so you can understand why. But I didn't know. I thought it was just voting, and now all of a sudden,
all outfielders.
That's right. But now they've got all the guidelines, and but that was part of it, I guess.
Guthrie's a good athlete. He barehands, flips to first. So Guthrie grabbed it with the barehand, and it looked like he kind of threw a changeup to first, but it got Canna. There's the Gold Glovers.
Now, see, Gordon gets the platinum on the right, far right. Now, he's 1-4. Perez, of course, has the catcher's mitt. Osmer at first base. That's a first baseman's mitt. Gordon plays the outfield, but they said Gordon gets the platinum. So I have no idea what is all about the platinum.
Well, he's won 4 consecutive. Yeah. I don't know if that means anything.
What do you think, Will? I don't know. I mean, if that's the case, Pudge Rodriguez, Johnny Bench, a few guys would have had a few.
Hit well to right field, but Orlando's there. He's got it, and Jeremy Guthrie has a 3-up, 3-down top of the first. Here come the Royals in the bottom of the first. Sonny Gray. Lineup looks like this: Escobar, Moustakas, Kane, Hosmer, Morales, Gordon, Perez, Orlando, and Infante.
Sonny Gray, his 3rd start of the season, and once again with the wonderful socks, wearing those tonight as he has done in the first 2 starts. And his numbers last year against the Royals, not that great. Remember, the A's played the Royals in August last year, home and away within about 10 days. So Sonny got 2 starts against the Royals, one of those against Guthrie, and the next one against Ventura at the Coliseum. But he's pitched well, and he's a great guy to start a series.
Behind Sonny Gray, Canna, Fold, and Reddick in the outfield, left, center, and right. Laurie, Semien, Zobrist, Davis third to first, and Vogt is your catcher. Cetus Escobar steps in the box, and Sonny Gray's first pitch is right there for a strike. Escobar, Moustakas, and Kane, the top 3 in the Royals lineup. 359 is the average. Escobar with 14 hits and 39 at-bats. He's got 3 doubles, and he's got 5 RBIs.
And he's ecstatic about leading off. Remember last year when the A's played the Royals, that's about the time that Ned Yost changed the batting lineup.
Middle of September.
Yeah, moved everybody around.
Zobrist going to have to hurry. His throw is just in time, and they got Escobar.
Ben Zobrist with the outfielder's arm strength. This is where you need it. He has to range far to his right, and in doing so, strong throw. And believe me, if you throw in the outfield as well as Ben Zobrist does, and you have a play like this, that's when you can utilize the strong arm. And that is a very good play to keep the speed of Escobar. And of course, you're going to hear us talk about speed a lot with this Royals ball club. Maybe not the Moose, as they call it here, but he did something in postseason last year that a lot of the Royals didn't do. That's hit home runs. It's amazing how many home runs the Royals hit in postseason last year, at least till they got the World Series.
Gray grabs it. Moustakas is retired. During the regular season last year, the Royals hit 95 home runs, fewest in the American League. But you're right, they did do their thing home run wise in the postseason.
Down in Anaheim, it seemed like every time they played and got late, they'd hit home runs in the extra innings.
And you know what, too, Ray, is we know what they did stealing bases in the wild card game, but after that, in the series after the wild card game, they did not steal as many bases.
That's right.
But they were hitting home runs.
Don Wakamatsu talked about that exact same thing. He said when they played the Orioles in the league championship series, he said they hit some 4 home runs to help them win. And Pierce, the first baseman, was playing off.
Yeah.
You know, so it made it a little bit more difficult for them to get good jumps. But that is made fewest in the majors. And this year, of course, they have the home run potential. But this is not necessarily a home run park.
Kane shoots one into left center field. Well, that was interesting. Did you see Sam Fold? Sam Fold, when the bat made contact with the ball, actually started moving toward right center.
Yeah. Thinking that he was going to hit it in that direction, and but then got to the ball quickly. Pitch was supposed to be outside, and maybe thought he'd go opposite field, but he had to hurry to get to it. Look where he is. There he starts and then recovers. Great call, Kite, because he did get after it. And the one thing about this park, because the outfielders, I mean, right now these guys are playing extremely deep, so first and third is an automatic with the ball hit the outfield. Because they're really right now playing no doubles in the first inning because they want to try to keep Kane from scoring from first base on a ball to the gap.
Kane's base hit gives him a 10-game hitting streak, so he has hit in every game of the season so far for Kansas City. And now Hosmer steps in with a homer and 8 RBIs this year. 2-0. Eric Hosmer, 256 is the average.
And you know, the one thing, and both clubs know that for the A's, this is game number 11, game number 10 for the Royals. That game at the end of the season, that play-in game, that was a one and done. One, you go on, if you win, lose, you go home. And a lot more emphasis on everything in that game than you'll ever see in this 3-game weekend series. I mean, it's still important. You want to show, and especially huge crowd all weekend, good ball club, good series. But still, the importance is that got a whole season ahead of you.
Yep.
A lot of games remaining.
Two and one to Hosmer. I don't think the game gets ignored. I mean, I heard guys talking about it on the bench before the game. It was kind of funny. They were like, was it 11 innings or 12? It was 12, right? It was 12.
Yeah. Well, what they might have been saying, was that a 4-run lead we had in the 8th inning or not? You know,
but it was interesting listening. And the guy said, you know what? I thought we had it.
Exactly.
We were in a good spot.
When Moss hit the home run, I mean, the crack of that off of 95, 100-mile-an-hour Ventura, straightaway center field. I mean, at that point, given the A's the lead, they figured pack the bags for Anaheim.
Simeon knocks it down, can't find it, and Hosmer's aboard as Kane reaches second. Tried to kind of backhand a little short hop. It popped up a little bit, and then Marcus couldn't find it.
Not enough time to get in front of the ball, so he does backhand, and usually the hands would do it, but once it moved, Zobra's trying to point, and actually, if he comes up, finds it there, he probably gets Kane, or maybe even the slower-footed Hosmer going to first.
So 2 on, 2 out. Here's Kendrys Morales, one of the new Kansas City Royals. First pitch. Bounced right back to Sonny Gray, who reaches up to grab it. Underhands to first, side retired. Couple of Royals stranded, and we're headed to the second, no score. So a nice moment for Billy Butler, Ray.
That's
Isn't that
great.
Great?
Salvador Perez, the catcher, as Guthrie works quickly. He was ready to go on. Perez just calmly stepped off to the side and let the fans welcome back Billy Butler.
So 8 seasons with the Royals. Was a first-round draft pick for the Royals. So Butler gets cheered for a ground out, and that's out number 1. I don't know, Ray. I think it's just, you know, it's just Butler, who's a kind of a happy-go-lucky guy. He's a big, burly guy. It's the Midwest. It just sort of fit, I think, for 8 years.
Absolutely.
If that makes any sense.
And, you know, really, ever since he signed with the Athletics and the A's, I think you're fortunate to add his right-handed bat. He's a veteran player. But, you know, he's talked about how great it was in Kansas City. Came up in the organization and, you know, kind of really sympathized with Chris Bryant, who made his Major League debut today. As Billy said, when I first came up, I did nothing. He's a left fielder, and he said I couldn't play. And Mike Sweeney got hurt, so he got the call to the big leagues and realized he's made it seem quite easy, but it's tough to play at this level.
Shot towards center, and that'll get down as Kane cannot quite get it. So Ike Davis has a base hit.
But I think it says a lot about the fans in the Midwest, as you mentioned, is this ball tailing away from Ike Davis. And, you know, for Davis, who everybody thinks about pulling, well, that's a great shot going opposite field with a line drive to left center. But, you know, you see player movement, unfortunately, in some cases so often that when a player does change a team, in a case of Billy Butler, goes to a new team and then comes back and get this kind of an ovation, it says a lot about what they thought about him.
Stephen Vogt hitting right at 300 with a homer and 6 RBIs. 9 hits and 30 at-bats. He's got a double and he's got a triple. Facing the veteran right-hander Jeremy Guthrie. Last time Guthrie started a game here in this ballpark, it was Game 7 of the World Series.
Against Tim Hudson. Peavy and Hudson started 6 and 7 for the Giants.
Shot fair down the right field line. Picked up by Orlando. Ike Davis going to third. He'll stop there. Vogt into second with a double.
I could not be happier for Stephen Vogt. He continues to play and play well. At this time with a 2-0 fastball, and that is not a pitch that Guthrie would like to throw continuously because those things can happen. And right fielder Orlando getting the ball quickly. Ike Davis, not a speed burner, so he was not going to be able to be sent from first to score on that ball. So leave it up to the Energizer Bunny, Brett Lawrie.
All right, see if he can get it done. Lawrie 256. He bunts. It's going to get a run home. Guthrie shovels it to first in time. Brett Lawrie gets an RBI as Davis comes in to score, and the A's grab an early 1-0 lead.
Well, he almost got a base hit, but that's a very smart play. Infield Will's back, but Brett Lawrie happy to get the runner in. Textbook as a pitch a little bit up and got a good running start, but a nice play by Jeremy Guthrie to make a play that David Price for the Tigers made today, similar to this, where he just put it in the glove and flipped it to his first baseman. And a nice play. And you're right, Kipe, about the athleticism of both these pitchers tonight.
Big time,
you know,
yeah.
I mean, you could just see some of the things that are have already happened.
That's a nice play.
Absolutely. I mean, he gets off the mound, the barehand play he made.
Yeah.
And then Sonny Gray, the best thing about Sonny in the bottom of the first, when he stuck his hand up, the ball didn't hit his hand. Matter of fact, Catfish Hunter right here in Kansas City playing for the A's broke his finger.
Reddick skies one to left center. And Kane grabs it. Side retired. But the A's get a run. Brett Lawrie with the RBI, a 1-0 Athletics as we go to the bottom of the second. California is brought to you by Paul Blart Mall Cop 2, starring Kevin James, in theaters now. Beautiful look over right field, Kauffman Stadium. Crowd still filing in. In fact, last half inning you could see the backup up on the freeway exit, which the freeway, of course, is out past the scoreboard. Cars still filing in. Gordon, Perez, and Orlando here in the bottom of the second. He's with a 1-0 lead. And last year the Royals finished with an 89-73 record, and they were just one game behind the Detroit Tigers when it was all said and done in the Central. And just one game ahead of the A's, and that's why the Royals hosted that wild card game. That one line foul. In fact, the Royals were in first place last year from August 11th through September 12th. So they were thinking, we're going to win this division. And then Tigers started to get hot, and the Tigers ended up winning the division.
Well, that's who they have to contend with this year too. The Tigers 9-1. What a start for them as well. And the White Sox cannot, you really can't discount anybody. I mean, they talked about the horrible Minnesota Twins. They just beat the Royals 2 out of 3.
That's right.
So I mean, you can't discount anybody, especially this time of the season. And it's a great time of the season.
2-2 to Alex Gordon. Gordon, one of the few Royals hitters who's not hitting. Just 150. Remember, he did not play a lot in spring training. He was coming back from off-season wrist surgery, so he may be a little bit behind.
Yeah.
But a very good player. Good take there, and now it's 3-2. He, of course, is the guy who was stopped at third in Game 7 of the World Series, so he'll be forever part of that interesting debate. 2 pitches off his foot and rolls all the way out to Ike Davis. A semi shift, although Laurie is playing the shortstop spot. Simeon shifted over not to the right side of the diamond, but behind second base. And a pretty good at bat by Gordon, and he gets a leadoff walk.
There's the numbers.
Those are the 2 starts. He was really good in both of those.
He was. So. Well, I guess you could look at August the 1st. He lost the 1-0 shutout, but on the game 162, pitched the best game of his life, young life, and that's shutting out the Rangers to put the A's into the one wild card game.
Here's Salvador Perez. Big swing. Bounces it foul. 368 is the batting average for Perez. He's got 14 hits and 38 at-bats, so he's off to a very, very good start. 3 homers and 10 RBI. Ned Yost says, I want to give him a day off, but I can't. He's off to too hot of a start.
Off days are it's overrated. It really is. You get a guy as big and strong as Perez, rest him when it gets hot and humid here in Kansas City.
Well, plus they've had 2 off days already.
Yeah, I mean, he's not supposed to play Sunday, but bottom line, he's your gold glove catcher. He's your best catcher, handles the pitching staff, excellent hitter. Play him.
Gray fires to second, dugout by Simeon, and the throw to first is just a little bit late. Sonny Gray had to avoid the barrel of the bat, and he was able to do that, and Simeon made a nice play.
You know, that says a lot about Sonny Gray and his ability to field his position, because with the bat coming at him, and then really did not have a great grip, but a perfect pick by Semien at second base. And I think when Sonny threw this, he never had a good grip on the baseball. You could see him kind of fumbling with the ball. A lot of times guys would say, watch this. When he catches the ball, the bat coming after him, watch him kind of double clutch to make sure he had it. And I don't think he ever had it. Threw it in the dirt. Great pick by Semien, and they almost turned a double play.
Maybe a little wet.
Yes, could be, because he looked at his glove. And
so a fielder's choice for Perez.
But you know, a lot of guys would say, forget it, I'm going to throw to first. But then Sonny said, I want to try to get the lead runner if I can.
So 1 out. Perez, who does not run a lot. It's the rookie Paulo Orlando, who was just called up. There's Alex Rios on the disabled list. He's the everyday right fielder, but he was hit by a pitch, broken hand. He's out 3 to 6 weeks. So Orlando's going to get some playing time in right field. Gerard Dyson's going to get some playing time. I thought Dyson would play tonight, but not the case. Got the rookie in there.
Well, Dyson had a little tough time in Minneapolis Target Field playing right field.
Yeah, you know what? I wonder if that's not part of it. Huh?
That's a swing. I think it's a big part of it. And the fact that he did have some difficulties, and
it's funny. You think of Dyson, you think of really good outfielder, but most of that work is in center field.
By the way, Kat, you see the number on the back of this hitter right now? How could they give Billy Butler's number to somebody so quickly? You know,
it's a Rady year, right?
Yeah.
Orlando 4 for 12 on the year. Swing and a miss. 2-2.
Good fastball down and kept sinking.
Orlando is from Brazil. So 2-2 with Omar Infante in the on-deck circle. Now the two big offensive acquisitions for the Royals in the offseason were Kendrys Morales and Alex Rios. Who took the place of Butler, and remember they had Nori Aoki, who's now with the Giants. Josh Willingham retired.
Willingham got his World Series, got a chance to go to postseason. He had never done that, so maybe that's why he decided to hang him up.
Curve right there, strike 3 call, and Orlando knew it. Strikeout number 1 for Gray.
A big curveball, and this will freeze a lot of hitters, and it does to Orlando as he watches it all the way. And a very, very nice pitch thrown by Sonny Gray.
There's the pitch usage for Sonny Gray. One of the better curveballs in all of baseball. Fastball strike to Omar Infante, who's hitting 188 with 3 RBIs. Davis playing in front of Perez at first.
And that's a good idea. You want to kind of know that you're there, let him know that you're there, but also try to cover some ground. It's Infante, who likes to hit behind the runner, goes to right field. Start edge enough. If Perez runs, that's when you know history's being made.
And you know, it's funny in watching Ike Davis, Ray, is, you know, when a first baseman, you know, holds a runner or is near the bag with a runner at first, he usually, when the pitch is thrown, he'll, you know, move out a couple steps. But Davis is moving out about 5 steps. He's trying to cut off some of that room over there because Zobrist is playing way over towards second base. He's trying to cut down that opening a little bit.
again, Don Wakamatsu, the way they ran against the A's and when they played the Orioles, this evidently is what the Orioles were doing, and it kind of hurt the Royals as far as the running game because their first baseman was playing off like that. And just like when see the Angels, a left-hander, he's always playing off, and there's a sign. So from the runner standpoint, do I take off or don't I take off? Are they going to throw over? And that's all you need to know if you have the base runner.
Infante swings at a pitch in the dirt. Gold hustles after it, takes care of it, side retired. So a leadoff walk, but no damage done. So we're headed to the third inning. Semien to lead it off. 1-0 the A's lead.
Located above the first base bag and includes an extensive high-end food and beverage package featuring chicken kebabs, capri sandwiches, sausages, sliders. Man, I'm getting hungry. Salads, desserts, soda, water, beer, wine, and more. For more information, call 510-638-GOIS or visit athletics.com/president. Hey, Kite, I have got a new place to broadcast. The President's Suite. With all that food,
that's a good idea.
We got to be there.
Yeah. Man, that's a good idea. Do a game from there.
I think. Larry, Tommy, Woody, let's go. Let's work on it. We got to promote it. We got to broadcast from there. Maybe set the whole crew up in there.
Sure.
The President's Suite, just for us.
So we'd all be together in one room?
Yeah, I think that would be great. No? What do you mean, no?
That would be an interesting room. Quick 0-2 to Marcus Semien. And he lines one, headed for the corner fair. So Semien on an 0-2 pitch. Guthrie missed his target badly, and it's a leadoff double.
There's nothing better than a two-strike hit, especially a double to start off an inning. And you're right, Kipe. A high fastball and very aggressively swinging with Semien. And right on top, he knows it's at least two. He'll play it with the Gold Glover going after it. And you know, we always talk about this outfield, and you have to be careful. That's why outfielders really have to work on playing the caroms off the outfield wall down on the corner. You can get burnt quickly. Unfortunately, it's not artificial surface anymore because you could run forever. And they had some rabbits who could run.
Corner infielders in. Sam Fuld grounded out to Hosmer leading off the game. So see if the A's can execute here and get a run home. Now it's 2-0.
See how Fuld took that pitch. I mean, you know he's up there to try to pull the ball, at least to pull the ball. Guthrie throw him a changeup, 1-0. He just let it float out of the strike zone.
That time a fastball to to the outside. Looked like a pretty good pitch.
Looked like Chad Fairchild started to call it.
So 3-0. That one poured in there first strike. Guthrie just 11 pitches in the first inning and just 10 pitches in the second inning. And he doesn't mess around. He gets it, gets his sign, and pretty much ready to throw. Stanford grab. Facing us. We got a couple Stanford guys squaring off here. Guthrie and Folk. With the Cal guy at second and the Cal guy on the index. Line drive, right field, coming in, and a nice play by Orlando. There you go, playing shallow, and it helped the Royals there big time. And their outfielders are playing extremely shallow.
Well, Sam Full did everything you would hope, and that's to pull the ball. He made it intentionally on the 3-1 to get out in front, but you know, he was robbed in Oakland against the Mariners. Robbed of a similar hit. We ended up getting 3 that day. Could have had 4.
So Simeon at second, still at second. Here's Canna. First pitch is low. Canna hit a bouncer back to Guthrie in the first inning. Canna went 3 for 12 in the series in Houston. Struck out 4 times. So I would say Mark Canna is probably right in the middle of adjustment time.
Oh yes, because there's going to be a lot of adjusting to continue to play at this level, and especially from series to series. Scouting report to scouting report. Fastball ran in on him.
Yep. So Orlando grabs that one for second out. So it'll be up to Zobrist to hit a fly ball to right field in the first. The report, Zobrist heel is feeling a lot better. So the off day on Wednesday, and then he was given off day on Wednesday, and then the team off day yesterday. So he had a couple days to let that sore heel feel a little bit better. Line drive right into the glove of Escobar. Side retired. Leadoff double by Simeon, but he ends up staying at second base. Bottom of the third coming up. '14, Royals ended a 29-year postseason drought. They're course, they beat the A's in a wild card game. First team in Major League history in 8 postseason games. Win their first 8 postseason games. Reached the World Series for the first time since 1985, and in their improved record for the 5th consecutive season. They won 86 games in 2013, 89 in 2014. So top of the order for Sonny Gray. 2-0 to Alcides Escobar.
Well, they always talk about it. I just read recently where someone said that maybe they should, American National League, get together on the designated hitter, because in the American League it's 1 through 9, and you know, when you're a pitcher and you're going through the batting order as a starter a couple, 2 or 3 times, you have your work cut out for you. And I think this is proof where there's no, I mean, even the bottom of the Orlando and Fonte, 8 and 9, where in the National League you have the 8th and the pitcher. Although Joe Madden's batting his pitcher 8th, as he did again today. Jason Hamels.
Belted to center. Fold is there. Longest active postseason drought. So the Royals last year were on the top of that list. They are gone, and they're happy about that. Now it's the Blue Jays, the Mariners, and the Marlins. And all 3 of those teams have high hopes for this year to get off that list. I'm going to stick with my feeling of heavy parity around Major League Baseball.
Absolutely.
Last couple of years, I think it's started to show up even more. And a lot of good teams, at least, and at this point in the season, we're sort of talking about on paper, but a lot of good teams don't know that there's those dominant teams, and we may not have that dominant team anymore. I don't know.
And Kip, we have seen and how proven it is that no matter how much money you spend, you cannot buy a world championship.
I don't think you can either.
No, I mean, there are clubs still try, but it just is impossible. You have to play the game, and you have to get hot at the right time. These Royals did.
We don't want to look at those clouds.
No. I'm glad they turned the bright lights on so we can concentrate on the field. I don't want to look up there either.
There's a strike. When you think about the Red Sox, last place in 2012, they win it all in 2013. Last place 2014.
And they're not afraid to spend money.
And they spend plenty of money.
And they spent even more this offseason.
Moustakas towards center, and Fold has this one under control.
Okay, there's an example right there. You're a pitcher in this kind of a yard where it's that deep, and the outfield in general, you try to get a hitter to pull a ball, just like the lefty there, to try to pull a cane, try to pull a breaking ball. This is a fastball a little bit away. Try to get and pull it by top-handing it. All he could do is straightaway center, and it is a pasture out there. I mean, it is huge in center field. So Sonny Gray, great pitching. It's like Yankee Stadium, basically, when you're going 385 to left center. You don't want anybody to pull it down the right field line. If you're a left-handed hitter, just try to get them to pull and let them go to the big part of the yard.
And I think what happens in this ballpark, Ray, is you don't realize how big the outfield is because it's symmetrical.
Right.
You know, you go to Fenway and it's kind of funky and it looks big.
Yeah.
The Giants Park looks huge because it's kind of quirky, but it's the same all the way around. So I think that fools you a little bit into thinking, well, it's the same. There's not like one giant area, but
yeah,
if you just kind of slow down and take a look, you realize just how big it really is.
And you think at one time, of course, when this was built, it was artificial surface, so they had it symmetrical because a lot of the stadiums during that era were the cookie cutter times with the multi-purpose stadiums. Of course, they did the right thing here, as we've talked many times, with Arrowhead right next to it, but that's exactly what you're talking about, Guy.
387. I mean, that's deep. That's deep power. It's 410 to center. Even down the lines, I mean, that's a fairly high number. 339 and 330. So 2-2 to Lorenzo Cain, who had a 2-out hit in the first inning.
And really, the Royals are built now kind of like they were in the 70s with its artificial surface because of the speed. Speed to cover the outfield, speed to take extra bases if they hit.
Sonny Gray, the 3-2 pitch. Reach for, and King just got a piece of it. .51 pitches for Sonny Gray. We're here in the third. 13 in the first, 23 in the second. Here so far in the third. And there's a base hit. Lorenzo Cain shoots one the other way. So Cain is 2 for 2.
Well, not much you could do. This is a fastball elevated when it just foul tipped. A good fastball. This one a little bit more elevated. And Lorenzo Cain, I would think this at bat. Hosmer, of course, has opposite field and gap power where Cain could score.
He's starting to come into his own, Lorenzo Cain.
Really, it's kind of like Marcus Semien. You play one position, it changes everything. And he's fixture in center field now. See if he runs in this at bat.
So here in the press box, they have pictures of the Royals from the 70s and 80s. And I was looking at it, and a guy popped into my head because he was on one of the pictures.
That's right.
I'll tell you what you think, Ray. It's a player from the 70s comparison to Lorenzo Cain. I saw a picture of Al Cowens.
Oh, Al Cowens, yeah.
Remember, kind of a tall, rangy outfielder. Wasn't a huge power hitter. I said, you know what, Al Cowens looks like.
That's right.
Or maybe Amos Otis a little bit.
I think what it was, I think wore 6. I think he wore 6. Did play some time with the A's, but he was one of the speed burners as well.
Kind of a real good outfielder, good hitter.
Yeah,
I don't know why I thought of Al Cowens.
Yeah, well, you're right. That is a good cut. Yeah. Yeah. It wasn't bye-bye Balboni. I know that.
It's not Steve Balboni. No,
I think he and Butler could have a nice foot race.
Quick throw. Cain gets back, but Lorenzo Cain, I think, is just now starting to figure it all out. One and one to Hosmer. Down the left field line. Just fine. You know what happens too, Ray, is the young Royals players, all of a sudden they perform well on the big stage in the postseason last year. And now people start to say, wow, that Lorenzo Cain, he's pretty good. I didn't know he was that good. And I think that happened to a handful of the Royals players last year, including Lorenzo Cain.
Look at the crowd tonight. You think that's not a result of the Royals last year in postseason? And I mean, you go to the Game 7 of World Series. This is, I mean, I'm sure the players are looking at it and say this is reminiscent of the World Series and postseason in general.
Cain runs. Hosmer lets it go, and it's low, and Cain's going to have a stolen base. Vogt just blocked it. There was not a whole lot he could do.
But as we have seen, running with 2 strikes is not a bad idea because of a pitch like this. Good curveball in the dirt. Steven just making sure he blocked the ball, which he did, but it does enable a runner. I mean, it has to be that much out of a strike zone because the hitter has to also be protective of 2-strike count.
Two pitch is flared. Left field. Canna on the move. He can't get it. It drops for a hit. Cain trots in to score. The stolen base comes up big, and we're tied at 1. It's a little pitching wedge down the left field line. Not anything the A's could do about it.
Another good pitch by Sonny Gray, but the result exactly. I mean, well, it's just one of those that maybe if you're a little bit more familiar with this outfield, you might play shallow, a little bit more shallow, and could have gotten the ball. And Canada usually does a pretty good job of that. But he is really relying on Ty Waller where to move him in the outfield. Even Fold and right field, Reddick not so much because he's a veteran. Kind of knows where to play.
So here's Kendrys Morales, who bounced back to Gray to end the first. See Ty just eyeballing the outfielders.
Yeah. That's all they can do. They've got the spray charts and know where to position. And
that one's line right field coming in. Reddick, he'll play it on a hop. So Morales, a line single to right.
That's a ball normally Reddick at a normal distance would catch, but he's playing deep as well. And another elevated fastball, and not exactly where Sonny Gray is wanting to make these pitches. See how deep he was playing? That's more protecting in case of a ball that's hitting the gap.
So Alex Gordon will hit. So a lot of pitches for Sonny Gray. This will be number 60 coming up. He's walked one. He's got 2 strikeouts. He's allowed 5 hits. Gordon rolls it just foul. The Royals coming into tonight have scored the most runs in the American League. And again, it's still very, very early. But they are first. And the A's and the Tigers are tied for second. Just a couple of runs back. That's total runs scored. Royals have the best team batting average, and they've struck out the fewest times. So you got to be ready to play because they're going to put it in play. And they've been finding holes in the early part of this season. Good call. Gordon can't believe it. Sonny Gray says, "I'll take it."
That's right, and especially down there because the ones he's been elevating have been hit hard, but this one very difficult to hit, and especially if you don't think it's a strike.
That one into right field, a base hit. Here comes Hosmer around third. Reddick's going to throw to third, and it's cut off, and it's 2-1. The Royals lead. 4 consecutive hits off Sonny Gray. That does not happen very often. Looked like Reddick was going to throw home, and then he decided to throw to third to see if he could get Kendrys Morales. The ball was cut off.
The curveball 0-2, and it's almost like this is the pattern because staying back and not fooled was Gordon. And you look at this and you see Kendrys Morales going from first to third. That just tells you how deep Reddick has to play and the outfielders have to play. So you have to make the pitches. He made a good one with a fastball, the low strike, but then all of this coming after 2 fly ball outs to center field. 2 guys trying to pull the ball in Escobar and Moustakas. And then all of a sudden, single, stolen base, single, single, single.
There's Salvador Perez. Perez reached on a fielder's choice in the second. Side. 27 pitches this inning for Sonny Gray. So Kane's 2-out single is what got this whole thing started. It's not easy getting 4 straight hits off Sonny Gray. Toward right field, Zobrist Gets a glove on it and rolls behind him. Run comes in to score. Gordon to third, and it's 3-1. Ball was really not hit very hard. Zobrist got a glove on it.
No, really a jam shot on the inside, and I think Ben thought if he comes up with it diving the outfield grass, he's got a chance to throw out Perez. But he had him positioned one way, and because he got jammed, the ball went the other direction.
So Perez gets his 11th RBI of the year. So 3 runs in, and here's Orlando. So the crowd buzzing now. Orlando tries to bunt. He bunts it foul. Lori comes charging in. Eighth man to bat in the inning. Miss 0-2. Outfield shallow and just shifted toward right a little bit for Orlando, the rookie right fielder. Runner goes. Ball's grounded foul.
Another 2-strike pitch, another 2-strike curveball, and I mentioned patterns, Kipe, and it's not like Sonny Gray can't pitch, and as far as being effective with his pitches, but see the 0-2 curveball to Gordon, the base hit, left it up a little bit. That was an 0-2 curveball. Orlando fouled. It's almost like they have seen Sonny Gray, at least the scouting report, to figure that he's got a good curveball. He gets ahead with the 2 strikes, he may go to it. Which a couple of guys have swung at them in the dirt.
Very long inning for Sonny Gray. Gordon at third, Perez at first. Swing and a miss. So Orlando strikes out for the second time, and finally the inning comes to an end. 3 runs on 5 hits for the Royals. We're headed to the 4th. Kansas City 3, the A's 1. Butler. He was born in 1986 in Orange Park, Florida. First round pick of the Kansas City Royals in 2004. He was the 2011 MLB Hutch Award winner for work done on and off the field. All-Star in 2012. That was his best year. 29 homers, 107 RBI. Overall, a .295 career average. That's the third highest in Royals history. So Billy Butler, the first 8 years of his career spent right here in Kansas City. That makes what happened last year even extra special for Billy Butler, since he was here from the start of his career. He grounded out to third, leading off the second inning.
Well, off day yesterday for the A's, and last night Billy Butler had a bus pick up the players, and they went to a restaurant hosted by Billy Butler. 24 of the 25 players were on the bus at a party, and the guy who didn't go lost track of time and didn't make the bus. But credit to Billy Butler and what he has done, or what he did throughout his career, and where he ranks, the home runs, number 7 of 127. Mike Sweeney, who number 2 there, is the guy that Billy replaced when Sweeney got hurt.
Butler grounds out.
See, that's not fair, because Escobar caught that ball, he looked at it, took a nap, and then threw. Knew he had enough time, but that's knowing that Billy Butler doesn't run well. Hit a ground ball, and Escobar did the smart thing. He just took his time, made sure he had a good enough grip, and made the throw.
So 4 in a row retired by Jeremy Guthrie. And here's Ike Davis. Davis hits one high in the air, right field. That's hit pretty well. Orlando's back at the wall, leaps, and that baby's gone. Davis, his first home run as an Athletic, to make it 3-2.
Well, they talked about the 32 he hit with the Mets, and opposite field base hit on a fastball, and comes right back. And how about that? First of this one after 11 last year, hits a hanging curveball from Jeremy Guthrie, and even this big yard hit very, very well by Ike Davis to get it just below the fountains, but enough over the fence, and the old front row, you'll take it anytime.
So here's Vogt. Vogt had a big double in that second inning. And he hits one to right. And that one is gone. Back to back, we're tied at 3.
What a great comeback for the A's. Boy, you talk about demoralizing. They have all those hits with 2 outs for the Royals to score 3, and the A's come right back. Vogt with number 2. Ike Davis, his first back-to-back for the first time this year. And the A's have tied the game in the 4th inning thanks to Stephen Vogt. Ike Davis barely got through the tunnel. Here's another one created for Stephen. That's great.
So still only 1 out for Laurie. Laurie bunted home a run. Pick up an RBI in the second. That's his 3rd RBI of the year.
We talked about the Royals only hitting 95 home runs last year regular season. The A's coming in this season not expected to hit as many home runs as in the past, but it's 2 very good bolts by Ike Davis and Stephen Vogt, giving them 8 on the season.
One and 2 to Laurie. Takes that one. That's low.
A nice swing by Stephen Vogt, and hit a 3-run shot opening night. This one sounded great off the bat. Pulled it down the line. These guys feel like they can catch anything and everything, but ran out of room, did Orlando.
But Laurie strikes out. First strikeout for Guthrie.
Remember when Guthrie was pitching for the Rockies and Brandon Moss showed up in 12? And what he did? Pulverized one up in 3rd deck. Coors Field and hit second deck in the next time.
Funny, we watched Guthrie that night. And if we would have said, you know what, I think his career's in jeopardy. I don't think anybody would have said we were being crazy.
No.
He looked like, I don't want to be out here. And then he got traded to the Royals for Jonathan Sanchez.
That's right.
And so that would have been 2012.
Yeah.
And he pitched good here in 2012.
Yeah. Got a long-term contract with his success. But you're right, because the Rockies won it because it's a single ball pitcher. Well, going third deck, don't sink that much.
He was not feeling it at Coors Field.
And remember, he caught a ball between the pitcher's mound of first and fired a bullet, Todd Helton. And then they had it out in the dugout. I mean, there are a lot of things going on.
Yeah, he wanted out of there.
But he's happy here. The Royals are happy to have him. He's the veteran.
So he bounces back, strikes out Laurie and Reddick, but not before the A's hit back-to-back home runs. Davis and Vogt. So back at it. Bottom of the fourth coming up, tied at 3. Here on the state in 1968. In their first game at the Oakland Alameda County Coliseum, the newly arrived A's lose to the Orioles 4-1. The team, which played in Kansas City before moving to Oakland, shut down by Baltimore's Dave McNally on 2 hits. So April 17, 1968, first A's game ever in Oakland.
3 years later, Dave McNally would be one of 4 20-game winners for the Baltimore Orioles. And the last time that has ever happened, probably the last time it'll ever happen. 4 20-game winners.
It's tough to get one now.
Yeah. Jim Palmer, Dave McNally, Mike Quayle, Pat Dobson.
Omar Infante. A little action in center field. I have no idea what Canna was doing over there.
I don't either. And you know, the one thing, and Sam Fold can cover some ground. We know that. And Mark Canna always defer. If you're a corner outfielder, actually Canna, pretty good sized lad, but fortunately, nobody got hurt. But let Super Sam cover the ground.
Yep, Super Sam has most of that area under control. So here's Escobar. You were saying, Ray? About 1968, Dave McNally.
Well, the 71, the 4 20-game winners, McNally part of those 3, and Jim Palmer, who we always say, and Jimmy will always talk about, is he knows exactly what happened on every one of those games. Yes, he was. And that was a great staff, led by Jim Palmer. But 4 20-game winners. I mean, there were 3 in 73 in Oakland. Catfish, Vida, and Kenny Holtzman, but 4 in a 5-man rotation is very, very hard to do it. I mean, to get enough starts to win 20 and to be able to pitch deep enough to get to that point.
3 pitches. Escobar is out. 2 out. So the starting lineup for the Oakland A's. First game ever in Oakland. Campaneris, Jackson, Bando, Webster, Cater, not Josh Donaldson, John Donaldson, Phil Roof, Rick Monday, and Lou Crow.
And don't ask Josh about John because it says who.
So the only name that I don't recognize just as a kid is Ramon Webster.
Yeah. He was just
remember him. Danny Cater.
Good player, yeah. Lou Krause, a very good pitcher. Of course, along with that lineup was the great Monty Moore coming west from Kansas City, and great Monty was a broadcaster for the Royals during that time. Sat with a gentleman in the press room who is doing a documentary on the Kansas City A's.
That would be fun to see.
Yeah, he said he's got about 35 hours. It's going to be a public broadcasting documentary, and he said it's going to be coming. Of course, he talked to Monty, talked to all the players. George Tolman's great groundskeeper. But it should be very interesting. It was kind of a stopping ground for the Philadelphia Phillies, the stopping on the way to Oakland. They didn't win anything in Kansas City. They just developed a pretty good ball club, and those names that you saw on that opening day roster or lineup in '68 were guys who eventually became world champions.
Moustakas pulls one into right field for a hit. Back in 1968. Here it is. Look at the Coliseum, folks.
There's Chuck Dobson, President Ronald Reagan, Joe Namath, actually the Governor Reagan, Phil Roof standing there. He is. Governor Ronald Reagan threw out this first pitch at the Coliseum, and Charlie O. That mule got more attention than Reggie or Sal or anybody. Really, I mean, there he is. Catfish with the. Those are the great uniforms.
Good-looking unis, yeah.
Because that was the year Catfish pitched the perfect game, '68, against the Minnesota Twins. We went to New York to play the Mets in the '73 World Series. Staying at the Americana Hotel, never forget, Kate. And guess who had a stall out in front? The Mule. The Mule was there.
Now that was your nickname, but you're talking about that mule,
Charlie O. The Mule.
Not you.
No.
Oh.
No, that wouldn't be in a
not
stall
the Marion
outside.
Mule.
They wouldn't put me in a stall. I actually had a room.
you had your own room?
But Charlie Finley would put the Mule
That's amazing.
on the plane, and he'd take him wherever.
If you want my World Series team to stay in your hotel,
that's right,
then you have to take care of my mule.
That's right. And at the old Edgewater Hyatt House, remember that was over there, that the World Series, he had a stall out in front, had Charlie on that Mule, got better attention, I swear. I mean, he got some great attention. I'll never forget it. We go to New York, Manhattan, Americana Hotel, and there's the Mule. Must have worked because Charlie won 3 consecutive world championships.
You're not in Kansas City anymore.
No.
Good swing by King.
You think about the team that was developed. Remember, free agency really didn't come till '76. And the draft started in '65, so they drafted Rick Monday, who was the #1 overall, get Reggie and Sal, and all these guys start signing. And then they're developing in Kansas City, and then they go west, and then win 3 world championships. Yeah. And you know the folks, Kansas City's thinking that should have been our team winning world championships here. So they took them to Oakland, and the A's have been there since '68. But a very, very good club that Charlie took out of Kansas City. It did not take long for the Royals or Kansas City to get an expansion.
Yeah, '69. Yeah. So they were really only without baseball for 1 year.
That's right. I mean, they knew the city was great enough they were going to get a team, and they built this beautiful complex here with Kauffman and Arrowhead side by side. And this is the stadium that was built. That's the old. What do they call it?
Foul tip. Vote hangs on. Side retired. So Sonny Gray with a couple of strikeouts in the
Municipal
4th.
Stadium.
So we're moving to the 5th. Got a 3-3 game. 3-3 game. It's the top of the 5th inning, so good ball game so far. Guthrie and Sonny Gray each has had a tough inning. Gray was able to bounce back.
That was a great bounce back by Sonny, because could have fallen apart, took the crowd back out of it with the back-to-back home runs.
Now for Guthrie, he gave up back-to-back home runs last inning, so we'll see what he does here in the 5th. Simeon, Fold, and Canna. Good pitch there, 1-2. See, Guthrie's he's a little bit of a dart thrower, right, Ray? He's in and out.
That little cutter that he throws there, he's got a cutter, 2 and 4 seam fastball. He has a very good assortment.
High in the air, hit well to left center. Kane's back and near the wall, and that ball was hit extremely well. Well, we have a major congratulations to send out, and Ray, I'm going to let you take it.
Well, there she is. Madeline Elizabeth Dempsey.
Nice.
So, just born a little bit after 7 o'clock local time to Lindsay and her husband Scott. It's their our third grandchild, first granddaughter. So Matthew, who is 8, Joseph is 4, have a little cousin, Madeline. So Lindsay's great, and seems like everything is perfect. So that is as newborn as it could be. So very, very proud, Carol. The grandmother finally has a granddaughter, so you know how that works, as you know in your family.
Yes. You got to have one.
Yeah,
at least.
and so.
Well, let's hope Madeline looks like her grandmother and not her grandfather. How about that?
Absolutely.
That would be a real good thing.
And thanks to the guys down in the trucks for that special presentation of one Madeline Elizabeth Dempsey.
That's great.
Yeah, thanks.
You got two cousins to keep a close eye.
Oh yeah.
So 0-2 to Sam Fold. Fold a ground out and a line out. He had a shot right to the right fielder in the 3rd inning. And that one's drilled towards center. Kane backs up. He's got it. And Sam Fold keeps hitting the ball hard, but tonight, unfortunately, 0 for 3.
You know, this acoustics here are almost similar to Target Field. Remember that park open? We'd do a game and the ball just sounded like a rocket off the bat and went nowhere.
And then it just kind of got up there.
But it's almost the same here, although this is a big enough park that you could hit the ball coming off the bat sounding great, but then all of a sudden it doesn't travel.
Canna takes a first pitch strike on the outside corner. Canna, a grounder to the pitcher, a fly ball to right. One bounce to Escobar, takes a nice hop, straightens up, throws just in time. Side retired. So Guthrie answers back. He gets a 3-up, 3-down inning. We're going to the bottom of the 5th.
Sonny Gray was okay until these little things started to happen. A bloop base hit to left field, that would score Kane, and then another 2-strike hit to right field would score another run. A's were down 3-1, but they came right back. Ike Davis with his first home run, a hanging curveball just over the fence in right field, and he was backed up by Stephen Vogt, a hanging cutter, and it also went into the bullpen, so that quickly tied 3-3 as we go into the 5th inning. But a couple of guys through the tunnel. Find out what's possible with AT&T. Call 1-800-PICK-ATT, mobilizing your world.
Hosmer, Morales, Gordon. Davis cannot quite get it. He may have got a little bit of leather on it. Looked like he redirected it into right field a little bit, but Hosmer is 3 for 3. And Sonny Gray back into the stretch.
Pitch count started to get up, and you can see some of the pitches that are elevated. Hosmer jumping on the first one, and he hit it on the ground. Ike Davis, a very good fielder. If he comes up with it, then pretty good chance. Got to get the out.
So that'll bring up Kendrys Morales. Singled and scored in the 3rd. 7 hits now off Sonny Gray. Other series going on, teams of interest. The Angels are leading the Astros 1-0. Bottom of the 5th in Houston. That's Weaver and Hernandez. It's Roberto Hernandez and Jared Weaver. So Angels 1-0 in the 5th. The Mariners and the Rangers get underway soon. Happ and Gallardo. First matchup of the year between those two teams. Start of a 9-game homestand for Seattle. So they'll get underway about a half hour. Could be 2, should be 2. Simeon has it to first, and it is. 4-6-3, 2 outs.
And that's a great way to quiet this crowd again, especially a ground ball that doesn't find its way in the outfield, and that would have been a 1st to 3rd also. But Ben Zobrist knew he had time because of Morales, so watch as he turns. Make sure a nice flip over to Simeon. Simeon got the good grip, even though the hard charging runner got to him, and still able to turn it, so that's pretty good. Gordon got to him very quickly. Or make that Hosmer got to him quickly. Gordon now hitting.
Here is Gordon, who takes high. Gordon a walk and an RBI single, so he's had a good night offensively. Trying to get rolling. Average now up to 190. Tigers beat the White Sox today 2-1. Walk-off win. Cespedes hit his first home run earlier in the day. That was not how the Tigers won the game, but
that wasn't cheap either.
No, it was not.
You don't throw him a breaking ball. He crushed it. Samardzija started for the White Sox.
Good pitching matchup. Yeah. Price and Samardzija, they both were very good. But in the end, the Tigers scored a run in the bottom of the 9th to beat the White Sox 2-1. So Detroit is 9-1. Belted to left center. All kinds of room out there. Fold has it. Side retired. We are headed to the 6th from Kauffman Stadium. 3-3 game. brought to you by Prism. Now your team can collaborate at a whole new level with video walls from Prism. Learn how at prism.com. Beautiful look outside Kauffman Stadium. Just past Kauffman Stadium is Arrowhead Stadium, the home of the Chiefs. Two stadiums sharing the parking lots, and you're going to have to look far and wide to find bigger parking lots than at this complex. There is acres and acres of parking.
And they'll always have it because it's kind of still out in the middle. It was in the middle of nowhere when they built it, and it's still there.
Yep.
Great freeway access. I always say if you're on I-70 driving by and you see the lights on, stop.
Pull in.
Can't get a ticket now, though. They're sold out. And the Royals are a hot ticket.
They're expecting over 100,000 total for the 3 games this weekend. And tonight's a standing room only crowd. And we've said it many times, Ray, coming here in years past when the Royals were struggling, and it'd be maybe 18, 20,000, but we've always said this is a great ballpark when it's full. And it's really good atmosphere. In the air, shallow right. And that's out number 1. Zobrist is retired. Speaking of full houses, the authentic home of the Warriors playoffs is Comcast Sportsnet. Tomorrow, join us on our sister station, Comcast Sportsnet Bay Area, as the Warriors pre- and post-game coverage of Game 1, the Warriors and the Pelicans. It's live from Oracle, and coverage begins at 11:30 a.m. And then remember, Game 2 will be live on Comcast Sportsnet with Fitz, JB, and Roz. So remember, Game 2 is on Comcast Sportsnet Bay Area. Forget that. Games 3, 4, 5, and 6 will also be on CSN. So there you go. No place else to go except for Game 1. We got the rest of them. Warrior fever gripping the Bay Area as it should. Warriors and Pelicans, that series starts tomorrow. Two and one to Butler, who is grounded to third, and he's grounded to short. And this one right up the middle and a base hit. So Billy Butler's aboard.
11-game hit streak, so he keeps it going. The A's have played 11 games. Billy Butler's hit at least 1 hit in every game, and he does it here, right back up the middle of the cutter. And Guthrie left it up. In fact, these are always great situations because whenever a player changes a team, there's always that thought, well, maybe he can give us a scouting report. Players have no idea. If it's a catcher, maybe. But how many times do you think Billy Butler, sure he faced these guys in spring training, but he's playing behind them as a DH. And really, there's not that much knowledge that's ever been given. The one thing they usually will do is change signs from the third base coach, because if Butler knew the signs, which I'm sure he did, then the Royals might change signs just in case. He would look down and see something that was familiar and be able to pass it on, especially the running Royals at any rate.
But that's very common. I mean, teams would do that if there was a midseason trade.
Absolutely. Anytime there's a change of personnel, and they may change them regardless of whether it's a change just because you don't want to stay with the same thing.
Hosmer grabs it. He's going to go to second out there. Back to first. Got him. Excellent play by the Gold Glover Eric Hosmer to turn the double play, and that's how the top of the 6th ends. Bottom of the 6th coming up. bottom of the 12th. Salvador Perez, the walk-off single down the left field line, and the look of disbelief on George Brett's face and look of disbelief on the A's players' face is still hard to believe that the A's let that one get away.
Well,
but what can you do?
What can you do is right.
And that was the start of quite a run for the Royals.
It was meant to be. I mean, just if you look at their run through the American League, they did not lose one game.
Nope.
Set a record for the most wins, consecutive wins in postseason play. Don Wakamatsu, the Bay Area product, is a bench coach for Ned Yost, said that the owner today had for each of the coaches and manager like a wood box with all the clips from the postseason in a nice little whole diary, the whole thing.
Down the left field line off the glove of Laurie. And Salvador Perez is going to have a leadoff double. Tough play for Laurie.
Did Dallaire just show what happened in the playing game? Because that was the same game winner right there. Yep. It just said hit hard down the third base line. Donaldson could not get it diving after it exactly the same way. This one with Laurie diving could not come up with it and deflected it enough that Perez was able to get to second. Wow.
So 94 pitches for Sonny Gray, and Flaherty gets up quickly in the A's bullpen. So here's Orlando. Corner infielder's way in. Late bunt and then pulls the bat back. Davis is about halfway between first and home. That was O'Flaherty. So a nice gift you were telling us about this.
Well, that's just because, you know, you get postseason, you got all the clips and all the press clippings, and they had a nice. I mean, it was just a nice presentation. The ownership did a great job, and Walker and coaching staff very happy.
Down the right field line. That's hit well. Into the corner is Reddick, and it's just foul.
Well, that's the old thing about, well, they're probably just thinking you're going to get the bunt down. Let's give him a fastball, let him swing the bat, and he almost got both of them in. Right down the corners, we noted the 330 and 336 down the lines. And it gets down there quickly. Then gets out to the very, very deep 385.
One pitch, here it is. Tap towards short. That'll get the job done as Perez gets to third. So Orlando puts it in play after striking out his first two at-bats, and he does what he needed to do.
Well, the infield will come in, maybe play not all the way in because Perez does not run that well, but does open up a lot more holes. So Sonny Gray very capable of strikeouts. Just a question with his pitch count now, number 98 coming up.
Here's Infante. A strikeout and a fly ball to center field. First pitch is low. You can't play the Royals and at this point in a game not think about the bullpen, but their bullpen is quiet right now. Guthrie has not thrown a lot of pitches, but it won't take long at this point in the game for there to be action out in that bullpen. But just 74 pitches for Guthrie, and he has not had a taxing inning. Infante with the infield in. Hard sinker, 94, and it had a little movement into Infante.
Now this is where Sonny Gray gets that little bit extra energy and adrenaline flowing. But that kind of a sinker inside, very difficult with the velocity for anybody to be able to handle it easily.
Escobar is the on-deck hitter for the Royals. Base hit left center field. Ford hustles over to cut it off. And Infante comes through to give the Royals the lead as Salvador Perez trots home. 4-3 Kansas City.
Well, you can see the tale of two pitchers. One, a great sinker down and in, a swing and a miss or a foul ball. And the location of the next pitch. Try to do the same thing, but watch how this one straightens out. And Infante, who was signed by the Royals a couple of years ago, does not get the sinker, instead a four-seam fastball. And that's what he does. So textbook baseball. Double, get him over, get him in, and that's what the Royals have done.
And that pitch, yeah, it did not have a whole lot of movement on it. It was pretty straight.
And that might have been a result of the pitch count, where he didn't have similar movement.
Right at 100 pitches now is Sonny Gray.
He tried to overthrow it a little bit too much.
The 2 innings that really cost him, the second he threw 23. The third he threw 34 pitches. And Infante with late break, like kind of a late break hit and run is almost what it looked like. So, and you can see Escobar trying to shoot it through that hole on the right side.
Well, last inning was good. But those two that you mentioned, a total of 57 pitches, second and third innings.
Off Gray's glove, Zobrist waits for it. Now he'll step on the bag, throw to first himself. Got him, double play. So Zobrist ends the inning with a nice play, but Omar Infante drives in the go-ahead run. 7th inning coming up. It's now the Royals 4 and the A's 3.
Is celebrating 13 years. Watch every out-of-market game live or on demand in True HD on over 400 mobile and connected devices. Real-time highlights, live bookends, pitch tracking widget, and more. Every night on every device. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.tv for details.
Vogt, Laurie, and Reddick here in the 7th inning. Guthrie with 2 strikeouts. He has not walked anybody. He's given up 6 hits. As expected, action in the bullpen. Kelvin Herrera. Last year it was Herrera in the 7th, Davis in the 8th, Holland in the 9th. It's not going to be any different this year. Sonny Gray, not quite as sharp as I'm used to seeing. 11 hits allowed by Sonny. 3-1 to Vogt. And he hits one deep to right. And that baby's gone. And Vogt has tied it up here in the 7th.
Again. Wow. Stay hot, Stephen Vogt. First of his career, 2-home run game. Ned Yost said that one shot is just enough for me to go to the bullpen. And Stephen Vogt, first time in his career going through the tunnel twice in one game. That's a great shot. And that was way above the bullpen.
So Guthrie's going to get a no decision. Vogt and the A's come right back and tie this thing up at 4 here in the 7th. So Stephen Vogt, 2 homers and a double tonight. And he's not Guthrie out of the game. We'll be back.
Presented by authority of the Oakland Athletics and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of Athletics Investment Group, LLC.
So big night for Stephen Vogt. His first 2-homer game in his career. And now the late inning maneuvering will start as the Royals go to the bullpen. Hard throwing Kelvin Herrera will face Brett Lawrie. And Lawrie shoots on the right, and that'll stay fair for a hit. So first pitch swinging Lawrie has a base hit. When it's time for a change, think Speedy Oil Change and Tune-Up, Oil Change Tune-Up, and Smog experts.
Well, the bullpen has been outstanding, as it always is, and like you said, Herrera, Davis, and Holland, the best 7th, 8th, and 9th pitchers with the lead. But I would think Ned Yost might be a little second guessing now, because if he starts the inning fresh with Herrera, maybe he starts with the lead. But Guthrie's pitch count kept it to the point where he could leave him in the game. And you know what that sounds like? Okay, this is the playing game with John Lester. He goes out for the 8th because his pitch count was down low enough. And he went out for the 8th, and with a 4-run lead, couldn't hang on. But you know, everything is kind of dictated by the pitch count, good or bad. In the case of Sonny Gray, he's starting to pitch better, and he's probably out of the game because his pitch count is over 100.
Yeah.
And pretty stressful couple of innings also.
2-0 the count to Reddick. And that one missed. So now it's 3-0.
Couple of high fastballs, definitely out of the strike zone, and the 2-0 close, but tailed away.
That one at the knee. his first strike. Herrera last year 4-3 with a 1.41 ERA in 70 games. 70 games, 70 innings pitched. He struck out 59 in 70 innings. Off his foot to Moustakas, who throws it to second, and they got him. A little collision at second base.
That's a major collision.
And Escobar is staying down. And Laurie is chirping a little bit, and the Royals are chirping back. And now everybody's coming out, including the bullpens. The bullpens are emptying, so are the dugouts. And Escobar is still laying on the ground.
Well, you know, that was a collision waiting to happen, because the way the ball went off Herrera's foot, and then the kind of the backflip. Was it Moustakas who flipped the ball? Yeah. And so it really hung him out to dry with the way he had to stay in to catch the ball. And everybody knows that Brett Laurie plays one way, and it's hard. And maybe Bob Melvin wants to challenge it a little bit, because watch this flip, and of course with the shift a little bit, that's not an automatic out either. And Laurie kept his hand on the bag. I see if Bob Melvin's going to be doing something, but when you have to flip a ball like that.
Well, I think the Royals are going to probably feel like it was a very late slide.
Yeah, well, I'm sure it is. But yeah, they're going to challenge it and see if he got in safe before, because that was awfully close, even though the result, like you said, was a slide like that.
Well, you hate to see this, folks. I mean, Escobar is being helped off the field with his left leg, unable to put any pressure on his left leg, and that's not good.
No, and you know, unfortunately, he had to be the one covering. He's the shortstop. Normally, the ball to the left side, it's the second baseman, but they were playing Reddick to shift. I mean, it was awkward anyway for Escobar to have to go over to the bag and field it, because he really couldn't plant himself, and that is too bad.
So Christian Colon is going to come in to play shortstop. I have a feeling, Ray, that the Royals are not going to be happy with that slide.
Well, they're already unhappy with the number of times they've been hit, as that was noted, because Rios, of course, got broken hand, and they had several other players hit. Opening day, Kane got hit by Samardzija.
And this may get overturned. I mean, it was close.
Well, that's not going to take long either. Doesn't look like Jim Joyce is the crew chief. See, I think the whole thing, it's unfortunate with Escobar, and like you said, to have to be helped off, but see how he's in a position that he's really not able to set himself and come across the bag.
So they're still looking at it.
Oh, wow. That shot it clearly. That one showed it was safe. But
so So it's either going to stay as is, 1 out, a runner on first, or the A's would have 2 on and nobody out, and they've tied the game. Here we go. Wow, they're going to keep it the same. So they must not have seen enough to change it. And it'll be a fielder's choice, 1 out. And the Royals have lost their shortstop. So Escobar out, Colon now the shortstop. And Simeon steps in against Kelvin Herrera. First pitch inside corner for a strike. Simeon a double and a fly ball to center field. High, 96 miles an hour. So Vogt's home run has tied it here in the 7th. Certainly concerned with Escobar. Herrera off-speed pitch at 89 miles an hour.
I think a lot of times Ned Yost and the Royals have started an inning with the bullpen, especially if they have the lead. Have to start to go 6th and turn it over to the bullpen, but tonight he let him start the 7th, and he gave up the home run. 3 home runs. Well, unless he comes off the bag there, that shows him safe. But that's the sad part, because his ankle was there, and maybe you tagged him on that part when he's off the bag, but he got him with the ankle, and he slid the way he did.
And another walk. So Simeon is aboard. So the A's with an opportunity now to take the lead. The first walk issued. So 2 on, 1 out, and Sam Fuld, who's had a lot of good swings tonight, but he doesn't have any hits to show for it. He's grounded out. He's lined out twice. Reddick, Simeon, good speed on the bases, and the first pitch to Sam is right in there for a strike. Eased in there at 98 miles an hour from
he can ease it for sure.
Outfield very shallow. Swing there by Fuld, but now he's behind in the count 0-2. That one at 99 miles an hour. So Herrera in some trouble here, but reaching back for a little extra. And he goes off speed, splitter, strike 3, and Fuld said he fouled it.
And the
umpire Chad Fairchild said strike 3.
But I thought he indicated that he fouled it. He caught it though. See what Fairchild does, because see, he calls a foul ball but a catch. Fairchild, that's a foul ball, but he's saying he caught it. And he backhanded it, which it did look like he did. He kind of trapped it on the ground a little bit, but backhanded it, and Perez showed it.
So 2 outs, and now the A's need a hit from Canha to take the lead. Canna is 0 for 3. First pitch, swing and a miss on a high fastball, 99. Canna has grounded out twice and hit a fly ball to right field. Reddick takes off, and Perez's throw through to second base, and Infante has to dig it out.
I tell you what, Infante made a great play to keep that ball from going to center field. Kane was backing up. The whole idea was to throw to second, but Perez did not have a good grip initially, and Infante, instead of staying on the bag, came up to take the short hop, and that was a disaster that was derailed almost. And Perez is so confident with his throwing, even though he did not have the good grip initially. He threw the ball, and then Infante caught it on the short hop.
So the count is 0-2. So the sellout crowd rising to its feet. 0-2 pitch, swing and a miss. He struck him out at 100 miles an hour. So the A's tie it on the vote home run, and we've reached the 7th inning stretch here in Kansas City. We're all tied at 4.
It's an emoji t-shirt on Saturday, April 25th, when the A's take on the Houston Astros. 20,000 fans will receive the creative t-shirt. It's courtesy of Grant Thornton LLP, which features Sean Doolittle, Coco Crisp, and Sonny Gray. Emoji. Should be a good one.
4-4 game, bottom of the 7th inning. A lot of action in this game. Maybe a little controversy. New pitcher for the A's, Eric O'Flaherty, comes in when it's time for a change. Think Speedy Oil Change and Tune-Up, your oil change tune-up and smog experts. So O'Flaherty will face Moustakas, Kane, and Hosmer. Game number 5 for O'Flaherty. He'll walk 7 strikeouts in 4 1/3 innings. Now the reports on Moustakas, and over the years, still early in his career, but he's had trouble with left-handers, but starting to learn to hit the ball to left field a little bit. He's a big, strong, powerful guy.
Shading him that way a little bit as well because of that. Very high number of hits allowed by Sonny Gray. And I'm sure between starts,
and Laurie grabs it, 1 out.
Have to maybe work on getting the 3rd out of an inning, because he did a great job starting the 3rd with back-to-back fly balls to center field and then 5 consecutive singles. Could not get the third out, could not put it away.
Couple of hits tonight for Lorenzo Cain. 2 singles, stolen base, run scored. He has also struck out. So he is off to a very hot start this year. He's got 17 hits and 38 at bats. He got another hit. How about that? Just stayed back and just hit it hard into right field. So he's 3 for 4.
I think the worst thing a Royals hitter, actually any hitters, although the A's have hit 3 tonight, is to think about home runs. You take the singles, and especially with the speed, and their ability to run and take the extra base first to third. Take the singles. It's remarkable the A's hit 3 tonight, which is unusual in this size of a park.
Here's Hosmer. Hosmer is 3 for 3. 3 singles, RBI, run scored. With a good lead, and that one's tapped toward Ike Davis. He's got it, fires to second for 1, on to first, and not nearly in time, but a fielder's choice. 2 outs now.
Unlike the Coliseum, this is not a bad place to return the throw, and if it's a bad one, you don't have to worry about it. Ike Davis getting the lead runner, which is easy. Hosmer showing that Cain could have gotten 1 in the chest as well. You got to see a runner going standing up. That's a little bit strange for that to happen, especially the way the infielders can come across the bat.
So Morales swings around to hit from the right side. Laurie has a tip off his glove, and it rolls into shallow left field. And Hosmer, who runs well for a big fella, goes all the way to third.
Wow. You have to know where your infielders are, and that ball was going to be caught easily by Simeon. Going to force the runner at second and be out of the inning. Instead, he ranges too far. Simeon was going to be there, and by deflecting it, it does allow Hosmer to get to third base. But we're always talking about sometimes the first baseman ranging too far to his right. In this case, Brett Laurie does at third base.
So now O'Flaherty will face Gordon. Go-ahead run at third base, 2 outs. Gordon a walk, an RBI single, and a fly ball to center field. First pitch, slider down and away, and Bolt wants to chat. Escobar is a mild left knee sprain and also a contusion. That's the update on Escobar, who left the game. Shot to Zobrist, who's got it, has to get up and throw, and he does just in time. Gordon's out.
That was interesting.
It's been an interesting ball game. We're going to the 8th, tied at 4.
A's fans, 2015 Topps Friday family packs are good at every Friday home game, subject to availability. You can get 4 Plaza level tickets, 4 Coliseum hot dogs, 4 medium sodas, and 4 bags of peanuts, and it's just $60. Go to athletics.com/family pack for tickets.
Four game, top of the 8th inning. When it's time for change, think Speedy Oil Change and Tune-Up, your oil change, tune-up, and smog expert. So the A's are going to see. They're going to see the big 3 tonight, it looks like, Ray. They saw Herrera.
Well, then maybe get the big 4 and Chris Young in the 10th.
And now it's Wade Davis.
If you're going to beat this bullpen, you have to hold down their offense. And O'Flaherty, although a little bit of a tough time, great play by Zobrist to end the 7th inning.
Hosmer has this one. Flips to Davis. 1 pitch, 1 out. Zobrist is retired. He's 0 for 4. And that'll bring up Billy Butler. So Butler steps in. Crowd tonight is 39,228. That's a sellout, second sellout of the year. This is the 4th home game of the year for the Royals. They opened the season by sweeping the White Sox in a 3-game series. So just a shade under 40,000 tonight. And a very nice night. Dan Otero loosening. Shallow right field. 2 outs. The numbers last year for Wade Davis were almost cartoonish. He was 9-2. His ERA was 1.00 in 71 games. Now this is where it gets cartoonish. 72 innings pitched, Ray. 38 hits. 23 walks, 109 strikeouts. Again, 109 strikeouts, 38 hits in 72 innings.
Remember, he was a starter for the Tampa Bay Rays.
Yep.
Traded here. I remember when James Shields and he were traded here, and they were talking about James Shields, and Shields very quickly, who is now at the Padres, said, let's not forget about Wade Davis.
He's as dominant as Holland.
Absolutely, absolutely. And he actually has already saved a game. I think he was put in a game and Holland not available, so he is capable of doing exactly that. I mean, you throw 98 with a fastball and
center field, and a good jump by Lorenzo Cain. He grabs it, and an easy inning for Wade Davis. Bottom of the 8th coming up. Perez to lead it off. We're tied at 4.
Kiwanis, California, is brought to you by Toyota. Let's go places. And by Xfinity, home of the most live sports.
This game summary brought to you by your local Toyota dealers. 4-8-0 for the A's, 4-13-0 for the Royals. It's been an interesting game. Back and forth on the scoreboard. Sonny Gray gives up a career high 11 hits in 6 innings. Couple of home runs for Stephen Vogt. Lorenzo Cain and Hosbury combined 6 hits, so 2 good teams battling. It's been an entertaining game. When it's time for change, think Speedy Oil Change and Tune-Up, your oil change, tune-up, and smog experts. Dan Otero comes in, 3rd pitcher of the night for the A's. Facing Salvador Perez. Close pitch, but a touch outside. Astros and the Angels are tied 3-3, bottom of the 7th in Houston. Good pitch there. In for a strike. Rangers got a run in the top of the 1st in Seattle. Happ and Gallardo, the matchup there. Up the middle, center field, and a base hit. 14th hit for the Royals.
Well, Dan Otero has to, and they're going to get a pinch runner. This is the automatic stolen base guy, it seems like, but Dyson, that's not him, he's one of them, but Dyson can run, but look at the location. That pitch is up. Dan Otero, as he knows, is a single ball pitcher. He wants to keep the ball down and get ground balls, but Perez was able to get on top of the ball and drive it into center field.
And indeed, it is Dyson, and he can run. And there's Holland. Dyson last year had 36 stolen bases in 43 attempts. Orlando is the hitter. Quick throw.
Well, he's a stolen base threat. You'd almost have to think Orlando's going to be up here to sacrifice him unless they put the hit and run on, which is something they could do.
Abad now gets up. Dyson with a lean. Not going. And there's a strike. Laurie in on the grass at 3rd.
That was a take to allow Dyson, who I'm sure has a green light to steal. He did not. He did not attempt. Whoever's going to be covering, which probably is going to be Simeon's, going to have to move quickly if there's a stolen base threat.
Not running there, and it's fouled at the plate, and it's 0-2.
Good sinker, down and in. That's what he wants. And remember, that's what he threw to Infante. What Gray did in the 6th inning when he got the swing and miss, but came back with a 4-seamer, didn't move, and he got the base hit up the middle to put the Royals ahead.
Dyson not going, and that's a swinging strike. So Otero just that power sinker, and he gets Orlando to strike out for the 3rd time. Oh, he broke his bat.
Yeah, because it looked like
I heard something, but he turned
off
around.
His foot. Yeah,
he turned around and just started heading back to the dugout.
Yeah,
so my mistake.
Definitely cracked his bat and thought it hit his foot, but I was a little surprised when he's walking myself. Nothing was really said. Ike Davis came in to either put some splinters or to get another glove. Something happened when the pickoff attempt.
So the count stays 0-2. Infante, the on-deck hitter.
The only difference here with Dyson, we saw a couple of Royals attempt to steal with 2 strikes on the hitter. And Dyson talking to Rusty Kuntz. But Dan Otero's a sinker slider pitcher is a little bit different than the slower curveball variety.
Right center, that's trouble. And that's going to go all the way to the wall. and the Royals are going to take the lead. Dyson scores. Orlando a triple. 5-4 Kansas City. You could not have thrown it out there any better.
Well, again, location not good from Otero. Left the ball up, left it outside, and into the gap. And boy, you have two speedsters, one scoring, the other hitting the ball. And for this young man, they had a note. His first 3 major league hits were triples, and you can see why. And definitely the number 16 worn by that man last year didn't run that fast for sure.
He's got 5 hits this year. 4 of them are triples. How about that? Triples aren't that easy to get, huh?
No, they're not. If you have that kind of speed, maybe, but another 2-strike hit, another pitch that was not the location that was wanted.
The 1-1 to Infante.
Holland was loose in the bullpen, and he would be the one coming in.
And you know what, too, Ray, is Dyson never attempted to steal, but you don't know how much that threat of him over there affects the pitcher.
Yeah, you deal with quick pitching, slide stepping, and for Dan Otero to uncharacteristically lead pitches up in the zone.
This one rolled hard but foul off the side fencing. Infante with an RBI single in the 6th inning. Reaches for that one, pokes it foul. Infante last year played in 135 games, but he was banged up a lot last year. Sinker down and in. 3-2. That is just foul as Kane and Laurie work together over at third. And a happy young lady down the left field line. Another 3-2 pitch to Fold in center. Orlando tagging up. Fold has it. The throw to the plate is a little bit up the line. Orlando scores, and it's 6-4 Royals. So Infante is able to get the ball in the air. Does a good job. He's got a couple of RBIs tonight.
Sam Fold got behind the ball and just too much speed with Orlando at third. As we saw him going home to third on the triple. So not only did they score the one to take the lead, but the insurance run on top of it.
So here's Colon, his first at bat. He's in there for Escobar. Escobar is taken out of the game. Banged his knee around in a collision at second base with Laurie. Fold backs up. Sam Fold's been busy tonight. Probably just the way he likes it. Two outs now. Base is empty for Moustakas in the 9th inning. The A's will have Vogt, Laurie, and Reddick. And they will face Holland. Sinker right there. Moustakas takes it, and it's a strike. 0-2.
Yeah, Tara getting the ball down now where he wanted, and that's a good location. With a downward movement on the fastball.
Fastball up a little bit. Moustakas is 1 for 4. He has a single in the game. So Perez with the leadoff single, then Dyson the pinch runner, Orlando with the triple to give the Royals the lead. Infante a sacrifice fly. 6-4. We've said this before, Ray. You're in a tie game and you're on the road. The worst thing that can happen is give up the lead in the bottom of the 8th inning. That's right. Because you're running out of time. That's right. Left field. Canna slides and he caught it. Nice play by Mark Canna in left field. But the Royals get 2. 9th inning coming up. And here comes Greg Holland. 6-4 Kansas City.
Came in with 1 home run. He's going to leave tonight with at least 3, and let's hope more if he gets a chance. That was the first one. This one tied it. So it's back-to-back for Stephen Vogt as he followed. Ike Davis hit against first, the second for Stephen Vogt, no doubt. He will lead off this inning, and a solo is not going to tie it, but something to get on base would help against a very tough closer.
That would be Greg Holland. He's already 3 for 3 in save opportunities this year. Holland, 29 years old. And he is one of the best. 46 saves last year, 47 saves in 2013. Eric Kratz, the new catcher. Perez was pinch run for. Grounded to second, right at Infante. 1 out. So Vogt is retired for the first time, and the Bluebirds are out for Brett Lawrie. Lawrie, the hard slide into second base that knocked Escobar out of the game. And
I think Moustakas thinks they're moving him, right? Is that what they're doing there, Will? Moves. One of the first in the expansion draft here by the name of Lou Piniella. He used to loo him all the time.
Hit high in the air. Playable for Orlando, and that's the second out. Laurie, 1 for 3 tonight. And here's Reddick. Reddick, fly ball to center, strikeout. He reached on a fielder's choice, so he's 0 for 3. First pitch, just off the plate a little bit. Now 2-0. Just need one base runner to get that tying run into the batter's box. That's all you can hope for at this point. Not close. 3-0. Outfield shifted well to left center.
One of the things that Holland does, he's been a very good closer. Darren Bush talked about his delivery is kind of deceptive because he doesn't come right at you. As a hitter, he falls towards first base. Watch his delivery. The first step is towards first and then falls that direction. And that's a rare 4-pitch walk, and that was after getting 2 outs on 3 pitches to start the inning.
So here's Simeon. He's got a shot. And Holland slams the rosin bag down, so he's not real happy about the 4-pitch walk. So if you were teaching a young pitcher how to finish to be ready to field your position, you would not show him Greg Holland?
Well, if you want to deceive the hitter, you can say, yeah, fall towards first base, but that's opening up the entire middle of the infield by falling the way he does. But he doesn't give up a lot of hits anyway, so doesn't have to worry too much about fielding his position.
So 0-1 to Simeon. He pops it up. This could be playable. It is. Kratz has it, and the Royals win. So the Royals scored 2 in the bottom of the 8th to break the 4-4 tie in front of a sellout crowd tonight here at Kauffman Stadium. And they take game 1 of this series. Time of game 2 hours and 33 minutes in front of 39,228. Royals beat the A's 6-4. You've been watching A's baseball on Comcast Sportsnet California. Don't go away. A's postgame live with Brody and Bripp and Shooty. It all starts right now.